Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Welcome everybody from around the world. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem, and this is the BAK Show. On this program, we discuss the things which are important to you, to the Muslims at large around the Ummah. Of course, I'm your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. And today we have a very special guest. But first, I've got to bring everybody up to speed. As everybody knows, there have been more than 60,000 people killed in the Gaza Strip since the attacks of October 7th, 2023. I almost feel shy to say 60,000 because those are only the people who have been recorded to have been killed, only the ones who died at medical facilities. And bearing in mind, most of the medical facilities are no longer functional. That number is significantly higher than that. After having said that, there was a convoy wherein people went from all around the world to converge on Rafah. Rafah is on the border of Gaza in order to attempt to break the siege around Gaza, wherein there is a famine, a man-made, Israeli-made famine, which is starving the people of Gaza as much of the world sits by and waits. However, we do have one person here who was not sitting by and wanted to take the initiative upon herself. And she is a journalist and an author, and her name is Sister Lauren Booth. Sister, I want to say to you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. I'm good, alhamdulillah. I pray that everybody watching this is in the best of health.
Okay, excellent. Now, we're going to get started here. And firstly, I want to ask you, you left home, you joined the convoy because you wanted to go to Gaza. What was the result that you were looking for and expecting when you went?
Let's first make sure that everybody here watching understands that the aim of the Global March to Gaza was not to go into Gaza. That was never an aim at all, stated or otherwise. Our goal was to stop the genocide, to bring the world to see the trucks that are lined up, to try and shame governments, to force them into opening that corridor that has been closed for so many months for the people of Gaza, who are reliant 100% now on aid, and they're starving in the midst of a famine. So the plan was that we joined just outside Cairo. Maybe up to 4,000 people were due to arrive, and then we would drive to El Arish, camp there, hold a protest, and then walk 48 kilometers to as close as we could get to the Rafah crossing. And we were going to stop there and film and be close to the border and just have our hearts connected, but also call on our own governments, brother, who are complicit in war crimes and, often like the UK, sending military materials and even personnel to commit a Holocaust. So those are the aims, not to go into Gaza. And I just want to give a quick reminder as well, to everybody watching this. In just recent days, 300 plus Palestinians queuing for the most meager of aid to keep them and their families alive have been shot dead deliberately in some sick video reality game by US militia and Israeli forces, and more than 2,500 injured just to get some grains of flour.
I'm sorry, can you give us that number again? Because maybe I didn't hear you properly.
Yeah, more than 300 Palestinians queuing for aid have been shot dead by Is Not Real and the US militia in the last 10 days, and 2,650 injured and 9 people missing. Actually, I think it's 2 weeks. 2,650 people injured, and they've been injured my dear brothers and sisters, by sniper shot. So when you hear about a child now being rushed into A&E, it's a bullet. I saw a surgeon today. He said this is the bullet that ruptured the pancreas of this 10-year-old child,
Right.
begging at an American checkpoint, American-led checkpoint for the food that they were being promised, and then shot by an adult. Well, what is that? That is a sickness in our world. And that's this kind of thing is really what inspired, 4,000 of us to go to Egypt and to ask permission to just try to drive home the message that humanitarian aid is needed there, and there must be an end to this Holocaust.
Okay, so first of all, I know that you initially planned for 4,000, but what we saw, it was significantly more people that were on their way to the border. Would you confirm that?
I can't confirm that. I know that registered were up to 4,000, and I want to say congratulations, really, to the global March to Gaza for being so organized. We were really careful to make sure, although the organizers were careful to make sure that you had to sign a document saying I'm committed to non-violence. I know the aims and goals of this. I will not breach any Egyptian laws. I'm here on a non-violent mission. They sent us out a handbook about if something happened, who to call, how to behave. It was brilliantly organized. But as far as we know, there were 4,000 registered to come on
Okay,
that.
so there were 4,000 registered, because what I saw, there were so many more people that once the convoy started, began to join in. Now, I want to ask you, now you've arrived in Cairo. Did you arrive by plane or did you come by car?
So, this is, we should be talking here about the complicity of many different authorities to stop human beings gathering in number, to, return humanity to international politics. When I got to Istanbul airport, hundreds of passengers, no, maybe 80 to 100 passengers, had already been taken off a flight to Egypt the day before. That was in Istanbul. Now, I'm not saying it's the Turkish authorities who wanted to do that, but the lockdown from Egypt and Israel did begin at Istanbul airports. And so when I went to the queue to get my plane to Cairo, I was told you've got an international passport, you won't be getting this flight, sit over there. And I started to make dua, and the coordinator there said, "Listen, this is Israel doing this. They do not want internationals going into Cairo." And then there was an opening. He said, "Oh, we've got permission for you all to go." So at each point, it was stop, start, stop, start, and so the numbers were thinned. I think maybe tens of thousands of people, registered and unregistered, are really ready to go and call local governments and international governments to account. So I got to Cairo, got through no problem, and then the next day I go to look for a taxi to the first checkpoint. There were two checkpoints, one just outside Cairo and one a bit further on called Ismailia. It's about an hour and a half from Cairo, where we were all called to gather and then go start to Al Arish. But then things really started to unravel. And then we saw the duplicative, obnoxious, and aggressive actions of the Egyptian authorities on the ground. My Egyptian friend, she and I were picked off in Tahrir, near Tahrir Square, looking for a taxi by plainclothes policemen, hustled us into an alleyway where there were 10 or so other activists and dozens of those plainclothes thugs that you'd recognize from Syria back in the day. Hopefully those days are not returning, inshallah. So they were taking our passports by force, taking our phones off us, and refusing us access to a They said, why are you here? I said, tourism. They said, give me your passport. I said, you show me your ID. Then one of them could show an ID. So I showed it and he just took it. I went, hey, you're not legal. You're not supposed to do that. Don't care. And let's see give us your phone. No, you better give us your phone. Snatched out of the hand. Um, I remember there was and these were people I met people from Switzerland, Belgium, Turkey, Malaysia. We were all corralled in, and this was just one area. This was happening all over Cairo. So it was a massive operation. They did not want anyone to get on that road to El Arish.
Okay, so they took your phones, they had you in an alley. At what point did they say to you, you can't join the march, or the march is canceled? How did that happen?
Well, the group I was with then got put into a prison bus with no windows, no air conditioning, just metal inside. There were chains on the back of the seats. Luckily, we were not handcuffed to the seats, but we could see that was what happened to some other unfortunate souls. And we spent 3 hours in that bus, sweating, exhausted, no water, small thing compared to anything the Palestinians are going through. I'm not complaining, I'm just outlining. And without any access to our consul at all. And at no point would they tell us what was going on. And what was amazing, I really want to highlight this for those watching, was the magnificent and beautiful atmosphere of the people from around the world on the buses and in the different points that I've heard about. But I want to talk about the bus I was on. There were two Irish sisters, and they were singing songs, and the revolutionary spirit was so within them. I have to really hail them for that. There were the Turkish imams at the front. They recited some Quran, salawat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were internationals from Belgium and Spain, and we looked after each other, and we really this is humanity at its best and humanity at its worst.
All right. So now they have you in the bus, and then at what did they deport you? What did they do next?
So I said to everyone, listen, it's pretty clear we're going to be deported. We're heading to the airport. And so we did head to the airport. We finally got there. And when we were taken off the bus, I was surprised. I looked out of the bus and there were about 40 riot police in full riot gear for some old people, some hippie type people, and some imams. Really
Right.
heavy-handed, intimidatory. Maybe they were trying to frighten us, or maybe it's them that are afraid. But when I got off and I walked through our welcome brigade, I saw these were like children, very, very young, 18, 19, in big riot gear, some of it almost too big for them. And I just thought, and I got speaking to some of them when we were inside the airport, and I said, shame on you. I said, I think you understand what I'm saying. You shouldn't be. They had their batons out as if they were going to hit us. I'm like, you'd hit me. I just want to go to Gaza. I just want to be on the border with solidarity. That's where you should be. That's where your fight is. You're making Cairo into Tel Aviv, because
How did they respond to you?
well, I tell you what, a couple of those young lads had tears in their eyes. A couple of them were just looking down like they were sick, absolutely sick. I am not for 1 second saying that there is a unity of purpose inside Egypt right now against the Palestinians. It's just that there's enough people who will take the money and shut up and be intimidated to make this possible. And that's what a police state looks like. You don't have to have everybody agreeing with you, but you have to have a kind of pivotal amount of people who will take your money, do harm, or shut up. That's Egypt today, and that is what's unfortunate for our Ummah and for the world.
Now, I want to ask you about yourself personally, what you felt when you're standing there telling Muslim men, you as a Muslim woman, I want to go to Gaza because I want to help the people there. And they're standing there in riot gear and batons. Now, I'm not so much asking what you said to them, but I want to know what you felt inside.
There's a couple of things here. I've been Muslim for 15 years. And, before that, I was an outspoken activist who dealt with things a very different way. And so that person, I was furious. I was just wanting to get hold of them and shake them and say, what are you doing, you little cowards? But as Muslims, you have to have rahmah. And so instead, I tried to talk to them. And it was when I met their eyes and I saw that shame that I really broke down in the airport. And that was the time when I really sobbed, because I thought, it's Muslims that are the front line for Israel. It's Muslims right now. And that hurts so, so much. That's so much harder to cope with. That is such a deep sadness. Such a deep sadness for our brothers and sisters all across Palestine, subhanAllah. And such a deep, deep sadness for all of us, subhanAllah. That was very painful. It was very painful to see that cowardice. I can't bear cowardice. I can't stand it. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Especially in this moment, we need our men to stand up. Stand up, for goodness sake. Horrible, horrible to see that.
What would you like for people to know about the result of the march that you think that they don't know? What would you want them to be aware of?
I think that everybody needs to know that that this movement is only just starting. We had the Madeleine, which was one solitary little boat. It almost made it to Gaza. Greta Thunberg, all of the wonderful people on that, mashallah, Rima Hassan, an MEP, mashallah, brought the world's eyes to the idea of, well, why aren't we sailing to Gaza? Those waters are actually international waters. Why are we just bowing down and saying, oh, that it is what it is? This to me is a real modern disease. This is what it is, and facts on the ground. If you hear yourself saying those things, say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, because they're definitely from shaitan. Because nothing is written for certain except from Allah Ta'ala. And everything else good, we should be pushing for. So number one, this is only just beginning. The Samud convoy, which is on the Libya-Egypt border, and has had some violence there against paid-for militia in Libya, is growing. People are still joining from Tunisia and other places in the Maghreb, mashallah, and they're determined to stay. And then you've got Malaysia, who've just pledged 1,000 ships to sail to Gaza from Malaysia. Subhanallah, and I believe Allah
Wow.
they will do that, because their
Mhm.
hearts are so strong, and they have the money behind them and the determination and skill to make that happen, inshallah. So this isn't over. This is just the awakening.
What would you advise for the average person to do? What can he or she do to get involved? Maybe they're not in a position that they can go to Rafah. What can they do?
In every country right now, you need to look up organizations that are calling your government to account, because there isn't a government in the world now that isn't either directly complicit or sitting down and not doing anything, which is also complicity in a Holocaust. So, look in your language for Global March to Gaza, or Flotilla to Gaza, or just look up hashtags for Gaza and look up activities. Don't just look up interesting videos. This is a time when you need to be going to your university and saying, how much do you spend with Israel? Shut down that program. Where if you're an artist, I'm not going to go on that film tour. Or in whatever field you are, stand up and do something. That's my advice. We all have a role to play in ending this. And what does ending this look like? Let's be clear, it's an end to the occupation. which means a complete change to what they call Israel, which is Palestine 48, as it stands right now. It's not to be continued. That series is over.
Okay, I want to continue with the questions. We've got some questions coming in. But before we do, I just want to take a brief moment here just to let everybody know we are with Sister Lauren Booth, who is a journalist and an author, and she's just coming back from Cairo, wherein she was not allowed, along with thousands of other protesters, to join the march on Gaza to break the siege. But before we continue with her, I would like to just remind everybody of something here. We are doing something here at OGN, wherein we are doing a project called Voices of Truth. Voices of Truth is a video project wherein we are giving a voice to the voiceless, the people who suffered under the reign of Bashar al-Assad for years. For years, they had family members who disappeared. They themselves were tortured in the prisons. And even some of the people who did some of the acts of oppression, also we're doing interviews with them. It's a major project that I'm heading, and we are going all around the country, and we need your help. Please, brothers and sisters, take a look at our crowdfunding page. That's on medina.com/voices of truth. It should be there on your screen. That's medina.com/voices of truth. If you can help us out with $10, $50, $100, anything you could contribute so that we could give a voice to people who never thought while they were sitting in Bashar al-Assad's torture chambers that they would have an opportunity to tell their story and the world would get a chance to see it. That's on medina.com/voices of truth. Please do take a look at it. Okay, I would like to go back to Sister Lauren. Sister Lauren, I got to ask you something, and I'm really interested to know what your thoughts are. I'm going to tell you what I've seen. I am on social media, and I'm seeing people, pro-Israeli people, who have been so indifferent, actually cheering on the Israeli forces to kill more Gazans, to be indifferent to their suffering, to continue the siege on around Gaza, and to not let any food or any aid or any medicine to enter. And now that there is a war happening between Iran and Israel, some of those missiles are hitting buildings right in the heart of Tel Aviv. Those very same people who were encouraging the war on Gaza are now saying, why is the world silent when Israelis are being killed? Why isn't the world speaking up against the Iranians who are committing a genocide? And I'm not making this up. I'm not paraphrasing here. I'm telling you a direct quote from some of the more popular pro-Israeli propagandists, and I know that you know who they are. When you've seen this, and I know you've seen it, what do you feel behind that?
I just think that these it's a couple of things. Number one, it's absolute programming from childhood for the people within Israel to get them into a psychotic state of paranoia, whereby you preemptively attack everyone around you in case they even think of attacking you. And you have zero empathy to anybody else's existence except your own comfort and safety. That's number one. Then number two, this when you are hit, the online. Sorry, number two is actually the online bubble that we all live in. If you spend a day on Israeli media, you will see that they literally, one, don't care about Arab deaths, and number two, and I do that because it's Palestinians and they just call them Arabs to push them out, and said that they don't see anything. And if something kind of bleeds through the timeline of a child dead, they're like, oh, that's just somebody making it up. It's a doll. It's insane. It's not another worldview, it's another existence. And it makes psychopaths. So I'm literally not surprised that they're going, why aren't you sad for us?
Okay, I've got a message that came through here from Norazleen Shezlin, who says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Support from Malaysia support. Can you please just tell us again, very, very briefly, about the 1,000 ships that the Malaysians are trying to field to break the siege on Gaza?
Well, all I know about this is that there's been a press meeting from a major organization whose name we can post below, inshallah, who have made an announcement that they are planning to send 1,000 Malaysian ships to break the siege of Gaza. Now, we've always said that one ship is easy to pick off. I was on a boat in 2008 called the Free Gaza. We managed to get through at that time. It was a test run, but the Mavi Marmara got attacked and subsequent ships got seized and attacked. But if, one is a problem, our problem, 1,000 is their problem. And so we need to be flooding these areas with people of good hearts, courage and bravery in order to change the face of the world, because our governments and our politicians are corrupt. Wherever you are in Europe or North America, you've got, the left saying, I stand with Israel, but it's sad about the Palestinians, and the right saying, we stand with Israel, do more killing. There is no difference in the we stand with Israel. So therefore, that disenfranchises all of us from any political system of justice, because justice for ourselves without Palestine is not justice. It's justice for all or justice for none.
There's another comment here that says, this is from Dean M4, who says, I feel so ashamed about what is still happening in Assisi's Egypt. First question is the march over? Because I understood that some of them are still trying to get in. What's the status of the march right now?
So today, the organizers issued a press release saying it has officially ended for the safety of the internationals, because when people got to that second checkpoint, Ismailia, they were beaten. There was a lot of aggression. There were people going missing for hours at a time. There were kind of local militia brought on board to throw missiles and projectiles into the crowd. And so in that atmosphere, it's not going ahead. Now, if one or two people are trying things, they are no longer under the auspices of the Global March, because the Global March is over for this period. But that's not the convoy, by the way. Sorry, just to say that the convoy in Libya is still very much active and alive. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. We've got a message here from Kurdi. I'm sorry, not that one here. Okay. He makes a point. He says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A Muslim should not embarrass himself. This Gaza project was a failure. How do you understand the result of the Gaza project to break the siege? Was it a failure? Did it achieve some of the goals that you wanted? What would you say?
It was not a failure any more than the Madeleine was a failure. When you're looking for a bullseye, you go either side and then you perfect your aim. We gathered people from around the world. People are activated by this. There is some hope that is spreading. So we may not have been allowed to do it on this occasion, but we've definitely organized ourselves and galvanize people. And I think often the people who say, ha ha, it's a failure, what are you doing? To the person who's saying that, I'd say, great. I look forward to your input. I hope you're out there changing the world for the Palestinians where you are and for the people of Gaza. And let's just also pay respect to the West Bank right now, who are under complete military lockdown. And what's not being mentioned, Brother Bilal, is this. We've lost Al-Aqsa. Why is nobody talking about this? Al-Aqsa
Right.
has ceased to be an active mosque for the last 72 hours, and nobody's mentioning it. Subhanallah, Al-Aqsa flood was put into place by the love of the Palestinian people for Al-Aqsa as a warning. They're trying to take it. They're trying to shut us out. They're trying to take control of it. That's happened this week under cover of this missile and that missile. And we all need to be shaken by that. Ya Rabbil Alameen, return it to the Muslims. Ameen.
Ameen. Ameen. There's something here. Who's Mahmoud Ghaznawi, who says, "Salaam alaikum, brother Bilal and sister Lauren. You are both doing amazing work. May Allah reward you both and keep you under His protection. Ameen. Ameen." We also have a message here from Blue Spect, who says, "A question for Lauren. Have you been to Iran, and what are your experiences with the Iranian people? And keep up the amazing work, Sister Barakallahu Fikum." Your
Good
response.
question. You know what? I've been to Iran 3 times. I spent a little bit of time in Mashhad and Qom and Tehran, and the people are really sweet. The people are their manners. I went with a group conference with a man called Scott Bennett, who was a former Pentagon advisor, I think. It was him and another American, and they landed expecting bags to be put over their heads and go missing. And after like 2 days, he was like, "Oh my God, we've been lied to. I've been lied to my whole life. These people are so sweet." And it wasn't just the organizers. You'd go out onto the streets and you'd meet people and you're invited into homes. And they are really a very delightful, sweet, but very determined people. And we pray for them. And now is not the time for sectarianism. Brothers and sisters, stop it. Anybody who's going to jump in now going, no, 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 not interested. We're going to lock it down. We're going to shut it down. Because, if you saw a clip today of the Iranian news channel being bombed when there was a sister and she was on air, the first thing they said, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, these people calling on Allah. Let's leave that schism. Hasn't it done us enough harm? We don't have to be the same. We don't have to be of them. We don't even have to approve, and they don't have to approve of us. Just stop killing each other and take on the real enemy. Surely this is the moment. I hope you agree, Bilal, but I'm not going to ask you if you agree, because I know there's some hard points there. But I love the people of Iran. They've been very sweet. They're very
Well,
strong.
I will tell you, while I was in America, I was in the Southern Oregon, Northern California areas, and there's a large community of Iranians that were living there. Some of them were Sunni, some of them were Shi'i, some of them were nothing. They just weren't religious people at all. So my experience with the Iranian people is that they were very, very nice. They were very kind. I always had a good time with them. Some of them got to be my good friends that I still keep in contact with today. Now, I've never been to Iran. Being here in Syria, after seeing the support that the Iranian government gave to Bashar al-Assad, I am no friend of the Iranian government. But at least I hope I'm mature enough to be able to make the nuance between, do I love the American people? Yes. Do I love Donald Trump? No.
Yeah, right.
You see?
Right.
So
Can we just all be mature, please? Yeah, just all be mature about this. Don't get into, your little pocket of passion and anger and think, and with no experience at all, roll it out. The only time I was scared in Iran, and I was really scared, was on the roads in Tehran. And if you're Iranian, you'll be laughing right now, because that is quite something. I've never been in a car that's reversed 2 junctions up a motorway, reversed. So, joking aside, we pray for all of our brothers and sisters. We really must be praying for them. We know that this Israeli-American war machine is brutal. It's already bombing hospitals in Iran, and we're praying for you, brothers and sisters. Be steadfast, inshallah.
Okay, I've got one final question here that I'm going to ask you. Um, okay, so Blue Spect says, do Muslim leaders not realize that they would become even more popular if they stood for Al-Aqsa in Palestine? It's power they want. That would be the best way to keep it. Thoughts?
That could be, that's a massive, there are books written about this. Let's just say this. The Moroccan street, the people there, that I was at the World Cup in Qatar, and they were saying free, free Palestine, and the Algerians, and all of the people of North Africa, and the Libyans, and a good number of Egyptians with their hearts open, and the Jordanian people. They want to stand with Palestine, and it is their leaders. Now, the leaders, how corrupt do you have to be to do what they're doing? It's not about popularity anymore. It's about money and power. And maybe it's about fear. And I want to end on this. Let's ask ourselves this question, because this is a question really of a man. Someone said to you, do the right thing, and somebody's going to make a threat against you and your family, or do a very evil thing and Allah will be angry with you and you will hurt the ummah. Which will you really take? Because
Right.
that's what we're talking about in a lot of these situations. It's not cut and dried, and I'm not letting these awful, Manafakun leaders off. But we're staring down the barrel of a very real gun right now. Okay, in that if you do something brave, you might get a phone call. I've had these phone calls. We're going to get your kids. We're going to get this, and alhamdulillah, hasbunallah when you're malwakim, hasbunallah, alhamdulillah. Can we say that? And if not, if we're not ready to say that, just learn about the deen. Learn about the deen and let go of them, yeah. Then everything will be easy, inshallah, and Allah will give us victory, inshallah. He's most merciful.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Sister, before you go, I do just want to remind our brothers and sisters here, please take a look at our crowdfunding page. That's medina.com/voices of truth, wherein we are embarking on a major mission where we are interviewing 10-minute interviews with people around the world, around Syria, getting their stories about how their loved ones disappeared in the prisons of Bashar al-Assad, how they themselves survived the prisons and other modes of torture that the people, what were meted out onto the people. This is a project that has to be documented so that years later, people will not be able to come back and then magically say, Bashar al-Assad was a good guy, he did a lot for Palestine, which he didn't, and the proofs and the hurt and the stories will be right there for people to watch in an archive fashion for years to come. That's medina.com/voices of truth. We would be so appreciative of any contribution you could help us with. After having said that, Sister Lauren, I don't know how to thank you for joining us on our program. You're doing amazing work. I just need to see that you're staying busy. We don't want you to be down, discouraged, or even be busy with other things. Please hang tough, keep being busy. Do you have a Twitter account that maybe why don't you tell the people your Twitter account so they can follow you?
Okay, so I've actually got, I hope you're going to, below this, link to my YouTube account, which is at Lauren Booth Official. You can follow me as well on at Lauren Booth Official on Instagram. I do a lot of work with a charity called ICRA. They are on the ground as well in Syria. Right now we've got projects in Al Ghouta, which was completely decimated. It was Gaza before Gaza. People have not gone home. They've not been able to return to their lives. And I really urge everybody to support Voices for Truth. This is very, very important, this documentation. People's stories are not told. And when they disperse or when time moves on, they'll be gone. I stood on a mass grave where 100,000 people No, not people. Bags of remains, including children, were buried. This crime
Wow.
that is not being taken attention to by the international community must be documented. And I congratulate you, brother, on your work. May Allah give you success. I pray for you to also stay strong in your family. And may Allah bless you for moving to Syria and being our voice. Thank you so much.
Ameen, ameen. Jazakallah khair. And that concludes our program for today. We were with Sister Lauren Booth, journalist, author, activist, and a troublemaker for those who cause trouble for the weak. So I just added that little part in there. This is my show. I can say whatever I want, right? Alhamdulillah, it was great having her. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. Jazakum Allahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi